My 46-year-old mother is flying to America to meet a prisoner while my dad crumbles at home. I didn't know what to expect, he said, holding back tears. She giggles in the study and locks the door. I'll be safe, she insists. Is this emotional cheating or a dangerous game? My mother, age 46, and father, age 47, have been married for 23 years. They are the only couple in my family who have not experienced divorce. However, for the past year, my mother has been communicating with what I understand to be an American prisoner. We live in England through a pen pal program. Initially, this began with letters exchanged back and forth, but it soon escalated to phone calls. I found it somewhat strange that she was so interested, but I felt it was not my place to judge her. Gradually, she started leaving family dinners to take calls from this prisoner, which was painful to witness, as my father looked defeated while her meal grew cold. This behavior became frequent, and my dad continually suggested she could simply inform them she was eating and call back later, but she never hung up. One day, my brother mentioned he saw our mother applying makeup to speak with this prisoner. She only puts on makeup when going out, and she wasn't leaving the house that day. Although this struck me as odd, I considered the possibility she was simply trying something new and coincidentally received a call. Then she began using earphones to take the calls. Often, I could hear her giggling from the study like a schoolgirl, which made me feel uncomfortable. Eventually, she started locking the study door and playing ambient music so I could no longer hear her. Throughout this, my father seemed to grow increasingly sad. My mother then expressed a desire to fly to America by herself, a fact my dad shared with me while driving me back to university after the Christmas break. I thought it was incredibly foolish, as I have had to assist her through airports in the past, despite her being an adult. Now it is confirmed that she is departing for America tomorrow and will be gone for a week. Firstly, my father is very vulnerable at this moment and has expressed uncertainty about their future together. He also lives in a remote area, an hour away from any family members and even further from friends. With my brother and me at university, I am concerned he will spiral downwards, and he is not the type to open up easily. If matters escalate, I worry about his well-being, and while I want to be there for him, I also have my own set of problems to manage. Then there is my mother's safety. Not only would she be alone and vulnerable in America, but she tends to act like an overzealous tourist and is relatively small, making her an easy target. More concerning is the possibility that she is going to America to meet this prisoner. I'm unsure if he is incarcerated or released. How can she be sure he will not harm her? She has informed me that she does not know what he was convicted of due to the program's policies editor's note. She is required to know every arrest to be approved for visitation. I fear she could get seriously hurt or pulled into something illegal. I cannot meet her in person to discuss this, and I am uncertain how she would react to my inquiries via text. She has been quite gullible in the past, and I have had to educate her about scams, so it is possible she has been promised something. The fact that she consistently evades providing a straightforward answer about why she enjoys talking to this prisoner so much suggests she is aware that she is doing something wrong or fears judgment. Or perhaps this prisoner has instructed her to remain silent. I do not know. I may be overthinking this, but I struggle to see any positive outcome. I try to find the good in people, yet I really cannot identify a situation based on the evidence where she is not engaging in emotional infidelity in some manner. I am unsure whether I need to prepare for a crisis or intervene. If her life is at stake, it would create numerous legal issues for me concerning matters she is assisting me with. Additionally, she is my mother, so I do not harbor hatred toward her and she has not significantly wronged me. On top of that, if my father deteriorates emotionally, I am uncertain how to support him or where to draw the line. I genuinely care about him, but I also need to prioritize my mental health. I assured him that I would support him, but I did not make any further promises beyond that. I have confided in a friend, hoping she will alert me if I am overstepping. But truly, I just seek as many perspectives on this issue without trauma dumping on everyone in my friend group. Summary: my mother is preparing to fly to America to potentially meet with a prisoner with whom she seems to be emotionally cheating, and I am worried about my father being left all alone, far from loved ones. Update 1: my father has already made plans to move out with assistance from his mother. He informed me that when he told my mother he was leaving, she barely reacted and continued as if nothing had changed. I have started a conversation with her. She appears to shy away from acknowledging what I'm saying and keeps insisting she will stay safe. She is aware that I know about her situation, but I suspect she is avoiding the matter. I did not have a chance to reveal everything before she went offline, and I assume she is currently on the plane. I messaged her to ask her to notify me when she lands, as I want to discuss this further and convey that from an outside perspective her actions seem extremely suspicious and genuinely give me the impression that she could be at risk. However, I will have to wait until she arrives. I am relieved my father is taking constructive steps and has informed his family. He is likely moving back to their village to be closer to his mother and brother. I am aware that this is a time-sensitive issue, so as soon as she is back on her phone, I will communicate my belief that she is in considerable danger and emphasize my desire to help her return safely rather than pointing fingers, which could lead to harm. To those advising me to toughen up, I am doing my best to avoid pushing people away, as that could hinder my ability to reach her. This could jeopardize my mother's safety if I cannot reason with her. I also need to mention that she might have reasons for remaining there, but there is no way she would leave our dog at home. He is her baby, so I hope that will be enough to bring her back. However, I recognize that if she is deeply involved, she might not think rationally. The only information I have is about the hotel where she is to stay, which, according to my dad, is a 15-minute drive from a prison. I'm maintaining contact with my father. He is attempting to determine whether she has informed anyone else about her plans. I will ensure we have a conversation after she lands today. This time, I will not hold back and will clearly communicate the risk she faces. If she disregards this, I will express my genuine belief that she is in danger. Additionally, I will probably ask her if she finds it rational to abandon a marriage of over 20 years for a convict. I also want to inquire about the specific topics her conversations with this prisoner involve, and whether he has made any promises to her. For now, I must anxiously wait. Thank you for your input. I genuinely regret not having addressed this sooner, but I cannot change the past. I will provide updates once I have spoken to her. Update 2, she responded to my message, acknowledging that this is serious and that I genuinely believe she is in danger, emphasizing the need for a discussion. I realize I am not getting to the exact point, but I did not want to risk her blocking me. This morning, she simply replied, "No problem," and then mentioned she was going to sleep before catching a train. This seems like avoidance to me, so I insisted on whether she would agree to a constructive discussion, which needs to happen as soon as possible. I swear, if she does not give me a clear answer, I will simply tell her everything and allow her to respond as she sees fit. I am exhausted by trying to make her comfortable. It feels like I am speaking to a child who believes they can hide their wrongdoing despite evidence being obvious. I regret being naive by expecting her to be willing to talk. I apologize if this frustration resonates with you, but I hope you understand the stakes involved. Additionally, my father informed me that she has not disclosed her plans to anyone aside from him. This time, I will be forthright, and I will update you once she replies. Update 3, my mother has contacted me and has agreed to talk, even suggesting a phone call. Since she is using online messaging for international communication, I assume she is currently using data. As she mentioned there is no Wi-Fi on the train, I am uncertain of the accuracy of that. However, she asked when the conversation would take place, depending on her availability. I informed her that it would be best to have the discussion as soon as she is free to ensure there are no interruptions. I need to communicate my concerns in a single sitting, even if it requires a 2-hour phone call. She has not read this message yet and went offline before I sent it. This feels like progress, and I am surprised and hopeful that she is interested. Now I just have to wait again. Potentially final update, I had the phone call with her. She was not hostile at all. I clearly expressed my concerns about her being manipulated and all that entails. She stated that she understood my perspective and that such situations could happen to anyone. She mentioned feeling numb for a while and needing to get far away. I suggested she consider seeking professional help, even if ultimately she decides it is not right for her. She also assured me that she is not spending money on anyone but herself and sounded genuinely sincere. Typically, when we argue or she tries to justify her actions when she is undeniably wrong, she can become angry and defensive. However, she was not at all like that. She informed me that things between her and my father are bad and that they are unlikely to reconcile. Regarding the prisoner, she mentioned speaking to 3 different individuals and clarified that they were not incarcerated for violent crimes, which reassured her since she would not want to engage with someone guilty of such acts. It is possible that this is all a ruse, but I would have no way of uncovering the truth if it were. I will have to leave things as they are. There is nothing more I can do. I feel somewhat silly if everything turns out to be fine, though of course the emotional cheating is not acceptable. I just mean in terms of her safety. I do not believe I overreacted. Based on the information I had, the potential for danger seemed significant. I am not feeling much regarding her situation right now. I will simply have to sit with it for a while. She has made it clear that she prefers to handle things independently, so if she makes poor choices, that is on her. For the time being, I will focus on supporting my father, as he is the one dealing with the most emotional distress from this situation, and the timing is unfortunate given it is close to Valentine's Day. Thank you for following along. I was genuinely scared. I am confident I have done all I can while also caring for myself. If anything adverse happens, I will deal with it then. For now, I need to distance myself a bit, as I have been consumed by this for an entire week and have struggled to function effectively. I have never felt so distracted before, but I will still check in on my father as he deserves nothing less. Goodbye for now. Story 2. Caught my boyfriend cheating after only 6 months. I showed up unannounced to find another woman in his bed while he blamed me. You weren't meeting my needs. After packing my things, I told him he became what he swore he wouldn't like his dad. What's next for me? Update to follow. I am still feeling incredibly numb. I never anticipated anything like this. We typically connect on Thursdays as well as on other days during the week, but this Thursday, yesterday, he informed me that he was meeting his father to watch the game. I thought nothing of it and was genuinely happy for him. I ended up picking up an overtime shift to pass the time as I am a first responder and thought I would surprise him by stopping by. We have always maintained an open-door policy, and he encouraged it. After parking in the garage, I walked up to the door only to find it locked. His truck was there with the lights on, which left me confused. It was 4:15 a.m. I began trying to call him. He lives an hour away from me and 45 minutes from my workplace. Returning home barely crossed my mind. I wanted to see my man. I called him 4 times, picturing him sleeping right through each call. I walked over to the bedroom window and tapped lightly, then returned to the door and knocked. I could hear the dog whining. He loves me and wanted to be let out to me. My boyfriend finally came to the door, appearing frazzled. His eyes were bloodshot. I thought I must have just woken him up. I started apologizing, saying I was sorry for waking him, but I genuinely wanted to see him. Just as I reached out to wrap my arms around his neck and kiss him, he stopped me. I was confused. I can't. What do you mean, are you see? There's someone here. The gears in my mind were slow to process this. Who? His father, his daughters. Wait in your beds. Oh yes. What the heck? I was not convinced he was lying right. I stood there an hour from home at 4:30 in the morning being told that my boyfriend had another woman in his bed. Just 2 weeks ago, he had been hinting at marriage. What happened? Why? I felt completely dumbfounded. I made it home safely after packing about 70% of my belongings. He had to pack my bag for me since there was another woman in his bed who definitely heard the interaction. While he gave me half-hearted apologies, simultaneously trying to blame me for his actions, claiming I had been off for 2 weeks and that he planned to end things this weekend, stating that we were not compatible. This was a shock considering our intimate moments and declarations of love. I cannot believe this. I feel so used and foolish. I understand that I am trying to make sense of nonsense, but I just feel sick. Update. Many were inquiring how long we had been together. It was only 6 months, so thankfully it wasn't too long, I guess. My ex had an affair after 10 years of our relationship, and it was absolutely devastating. We attempted to work it out for almost 2 years, but ultimately agreed it wasn't working and separated. This was my first relationship after that. I returned to collect my belongings about 12 hours later. One of my male coworkers with a truck drove me, and I am so grateful he did since I had been awake for 30 hours and wasn't comfortable driving, let alone going alone. It provided a good opportunity for reflection. I had been ignoring red flags. He spoke highly of himself but frequently failed to deliver on emotional support, which I truly need being a paramedic. I began to realize that he always redirected the conversation back to himself. He did not have a stable job and complained that he rarely saw his children. They are 1.5 hours away. He consistently spoke poorly about his father cheating on his mother for years, which destroyed their family, and mentioned that he never wanted to do that to his ex-wife, explaining they eventually split. He promised he would never put me through what my ex did. He always insisted upon the importance of communication and claimed to possess emotional intelligence, which he believed most people lacked. Then I recalled when we first started dating, his friend, a mutual friend who had been advocating for us to get together for years before we finally did, pointed out a certain mutual acquaintance the day after we slept together. At that time, I assumed we were just a one-time occurrence and didn't understand the significance of his comment. I now regret not approaching her for a candid conversation. It would have confirmed my suspicions that he only stuck around for the enjoyable moments, the excitement of a new fling that might involve infidelity and the honeymoon phase, and vanished when things became challenging or serious. When I arrived to retrieve my belongings, I did not simply walk in, I knocked and waited. The moment he opened the door, I became angry. I began gathering my items, realizing just how much I had purchased for that place. A vacuum, a steamer, a countertop dishwasher, a kitchen island trolley, an air purifier he used to smoke in the house, and various other items to make the house feel like a home, things his daughters enjoyed. I considered going fully petty and taking the entry rugs, the garbage can, and the shower filter. He lives in the countryside and is on a well, but I refrained. During the process of collecting my possessions, I mentioned a few things. I called him a coward, stating he was not man enough to talk to me first. I told him that his worst fear of turning into his father had come true and expressed hope that he was proud of himself. He became immediately defensive, saying that because I had been distant, he was reevaluating his checklist and I was not meeting his needs. He claimed I was ghosting him, stating that he needed to see and hear from me more. I asked how 2-3 times a week was insufficient, and he insisted that it hadn't been enough this past week. I inquired why that was my responsibility. For 6 months, I had been driving the 2-hour round trip to spend 2 5 nights there each week. Where was the balance? He had only come into the city 3 times in 6 months, and once was merely out of convenience. He met me for dinner while he was already in town for other plans. This man then had the audacity to say, "Oh, so you're keeping score." For the record, I work 3 jobs, full-time as a paramedic, part-time in administration for a hospital, and I referee semi-professional hockey. He had known this before we got together, and we discussed the possibility of me leaving one job if we committed and I had some financial security and help with my dogs. After 3 months of dating, I bought a calendar and wrote out my schedule for him so he could see when I was available, allowing us to plan accordingly. I asked him if this made it easier for him to cheat. He insisted he was not like that, this was the first and only time, and he intended to tell me when he broke up with me on Sunday. I asked how much overlap there was between him and his last girlfriend. He denied having one prior to me. I remembered him texting me that he had loose ends to tie up but that he wanted to be exclusive and give our relationship a real chance. So I asked what exactly that meant, and he reiterated precisely that. Throughout the conversation, I began second-guessing myself, questioning my grasp on the situation. He kept insisting that I was short with him and barely replied to his messages. He stated he did not want to be with someone who ghosted him, and apparently sleeping between night shifts was unacceptable to him. I scrolled back through our messages, asking him where the ghosting occurred, and he then tried to change the subject, caught in yet another lie, I suppose. I asked how he would feel if the roles were reversed. I then asked him to imagine it was one of his daughters who drove an hour, excited to see her boyfriend, and found him in the same situation I had to endure. Then she had to drive an hour home, sobbing her eyes out after being devastated and subsequently blamed for his actions. He just stared at the floor, saying I was not thinking. I began to waver, questioning my perception of reality. He kept saying that I always showed up in a sour mood. I asked for specific instances, excluding Valentine's Day. I recognized I wasn't great company that day as I was struggling mentally, and I communicated that to him, but he could not provide any examples. He began insisting that I had always been in fight or flight mode with him. I still could not believe what I was hearing. When I was ready to start collecting the larger items, he asked if I needed help. Without hesitation, I replied, "No, I have my friend to assist me." To which he snarkily responded, "Oh right, you never need help." I countered, "That's right, actually I just don't need it from you." Once I had gathered all my belongings, I turned back and said, "I really do love you, you know, this is awful." Then I left, and once I got back in the truck, I broke down, crying all over again. I am grateful my friend and coworker was there. He was able to confirm to me that this man was gaslighting me and pointed out all the instances where he was contradicting himself. He reminded me of all the things I am and have done for this man without any reciprocation, like driving a 2-hour round trip, only an hour after a 12-hour overnight shift, and advised me not to shed too many tears over a man who allowed me to do all that without any form of reciprocity or appreciation, because a real man would not have treated me this way. I am fortunate to have friends like him. The devastation I feel in this situation is different from what I experienced with my ex. I still love my ex, he was my best friend and continues to be. I was able to rationalize his affair since our relationship had reached a dysfunctional level. It does not justify it, but I acknowledge we were both troubled and suffering, self-destructing in our respective ways. Don't get me wrong, I was devastated, bedridden, not eating for weeks, and requiring medical intervention. It's crazy that was what knocked me down rather than the chaos I face at work. This current situation, however, is confusing and still feels like a betrayal but different in nature. I finally passed out last night after 36 hours of functioning. I don't know how, but sleeping has been difficult. I wake up grieving the life he promised and feeling the pangs of betrayal, knowing he is gone. It has become part of my routine, but already I feel myself healing. Thank you to everyone who has responded and offered support. I have taken the advice everyone has given, and I hope I do not hear from him again, but if I do, I will continue to ignore him for real this time. I have never posted to Reddit before, but this has been incredibly therapeutic, and I genuinely appreciate the time you all have taken to read and comment. Story 3. After 12 years together, my boyfriend blindsided me. I've done everything. You deserve better. He cheated on me with a girl I didn't even know. Even after I begged him to understand my pain, he still chased her until karma hit him. Now he wants me back. Should I take him? Hello. My boyfriend and I are the same age, 26. We have been together for more than 12 years, starting in school 8th grade. Our journey began on February 10, 2012. At that time, we came together without fully understanding what it meant, but eventually we grew to love each other so much that I started to believe we were inseparable. I'm a doctor and he is an engineer. We performed well academically while being together, always supporting one another. Over the years, we faced many challenges, but we maintained the belief that nothing could break our bond. However, after approximately 12 and a half years, things changed. For me, everything felt normal and happy as it always had. The only slightly unusual aspect was that I often asked him to meet me, go on dates, take trips, and spend time together. He would respond that he was busy or involved in something important and could only meet for 2 to 3 hours. He never agreed to meet alone in a room, but I didn't think anything of it because I was deeply and madly in love with him and trusted him implicitly, considering the long duration of our relationship. He was my go-to person. It is also worth mentioning that I am still a virgin. Even though we advanced in many aspects of our romance, we never had sexual intercourse, as I believed we should wait a bit longer for that. I mention this for a reason. On January 11, 2025, we had a fight over him abruptly canceling a date that had been planned for January 10. He showed no regard for my feelings and left me upset without any effort to apologize or explain. So on the 11th, I insisted that we go for a one-day homestay. I told him I did not care what he thought, he had to come. He argued with me, suggesting we avoid confined spaces and meet casually instead, which left me stunned. The person who had always wanted to spend time together was now saying that this was inappropriate. I relentlessly demanded a reason for his avoidance and refusal to stay with me. Eventually, he helplessly confessed that he felt I deserved someone better and that he had not been honest with me. At that moment, I felt as though my world had turned upside down. I kept asking him who, when, and where. He told me he had engaged in sexual relations multiple times with a girl I did not know from his workplace and developed feelings for her while losing feelings for me. This had been happening entirely of his own volition for the past 7 to 8 months, and I was completely unaware of any of it, including her existence in his life. I remained loyal to him and never betrayed his trust. I took our relationship very seriously as I genuinely wanted to marry him. I could not cope with the realization of his betrayal and began experiencing anxiety attacks, panic attacks, sleeplessness, loss of appetite, and the most miserable days of my life. Although everything happened to me, I still wished for him to return to my life. I repeatedly attempted to convey the value of the years we spent together, our childhood memories, the promises he had made to me, and the love and affection we shared. However, he did not seem to comprehend anything I was saying, and even after January 11, after witnessing my misery and being pressured by his parents to leave that girl, he continued to stay in contact with her until he learned that she had betrayed him. Instant karma. Despite my research on that girl and my attempts to make him understand that she was using him, he remained indifferent and failed to listen to anyone's words. Then, on February 17, he discovered the truth about her. He called me to share what he had found out, saying that he wanted to talk, resolve everything, and consider starting anew. I do not want to lose him, but I am uncertain if taking him back is the right choice anymore. The reason for my hesitation is that I have been in emotional turmoil daily, crying during phone calls while he remains unaware of my suffering. He discussed the sexual activities they had engaged in, which haunts me. I am confused because I envisioned a future with him, yet I do not want to be hurt again. His behavior does not reassure me. He is not making enough effort but keeps insisting that we will try again. I would appreciate your insights. I will be waiting. I am truly stressed and often feel helpless. I feel unwanted, unworthy, unattractive, and so much more. I constantly question why I was not enough and why we did not share intimacy after being in a relationship for so many years. How could he give all my rights to someone else and fulfill his desires without considering me even once? Please help. I am exhausted from feeling secondary and being treated like an option.